No matter how many times I watch this movie, I always think Ellen and the good doctor are going to passionately kiss at the fade-out. Baby, our plan worked. I'm sure that's how the remake would end now. In fact, I think this movie could have benefited from a bit more ambiguity about the relationship between Ellen and Dr. Graham, if maybe there was something to George's suspicions. But then, that probably would have been the hardest thing for an audience in 1951 to swallow about this plot. It just wasn't possible for Loretta Young to be that devious. Her on-screen persona was so closely aligned with her off-screen life, no one would have believed such a plot twist. Young was a conservative Republican, a big supporter of President Eisenhower, and a devout Catholic. Everyone who worked with her considered her the ultimate pro, and they all laughingly tolerated her swear box in which she collected fines from anyone who used foul language on the set. The money, of course, was donated to charity. Robert Mitchum reportedly stuffed a 50 in the box and said, "That ought to cover what I'll have to say." Cause for alarm, contrived as it is still a remarkable time capsule of its era. Knowingly or not, the filmmakers created a noir-stained portrait of how women were trapped in subservient roles and hamstrung by their own ingrained expectations. Ellen can't accomplish the simplest things without her husband's permission, and although she already looks like Good Housekeeping's image of the ideal wife, she actually takes time to doll herself up for a trip downtown to see the postal superintendent, yet another man who treats her with utter condescension. I'm sure plenty of female viewers found Ellen's willingness to stay in that house maddening, even perhaps a little unbelievable. But if you're going to argue that, well, you'll have to first explain statistics showing that 1 out of 4 women in this country today are victims of domestic abuse. Now, despite her squeaky clean image, Loretta Young had her own noir-stained backstory. For many years, she kept it secret that her daughter, Judy Lewis, was not the biological daughter of her husband, Tom. Late in her life, she admitted that Clark Gable had raped her in 1935 during the making of Call of the Wild. To protect both their careers, Young concocted a ruse to make it seem Judy was adopted. It must have been awkward making Keys to the City, the film she did just before this, which co-starred Clark Gable. He never acknowledged, and perhaps never even knew, that Judy Lewis was his daughter. In 1953, Young made the switch from feature films to television, producing, hosting, and often appearing in The Loretta Young Show, a weekly dramatic anthology series that aired Sunday nights on NBC. Every episode started with Young making a grand entrance through a doorway, swirling around in lavish gowns. Forever conscious of being au courant, when the show was syndicated years later, Young sued to have those opening sequences eliminated, lest anyone think her style was out of date. My final words today are for Irving Bacon, the veteran character actor who probably had his biggest speaking role ever in Cause for Alarm, as Mr. Karsten, the cranky, rule-abiding postman who ends up the unexpected hero of the story. Bacon appeared in hundreds of films dating back to the early 20s, but I doubt he uttered much dialogue in any of them. And I have to say, that was a fantastic ending. The letter returned for insufficient postage. Of course, that won't be in the remake. Damn email. At least you can use that newfangled technology to comment on our Noir Alley Facebook page or Twitter feed. And come back next week for another noir with a fabulous twist ending, Hollow Triumph, starring Paul Henreid and Joan Bennett, photographed by the legendary John Alton. Until then, see you in the shadows.